Hey, check out our website if you haven't looked at it in a while,
Oh, yeah.
rucktheway.com. We've got some new pilgrimages coming up for 2027. They should be up there soon. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, if you're thinking, you know what, I would love to actually experience this live in person with Chris and Gabe, both in Scotland and in the US, take a look at the website under pilgrimages. We will have new ones coming up that you can sign up for 2027. Hey, welcome back to the Ruck the Way podcast. Gabe, good to see you.
Hey, you too, Chris.
Always good. And I just thought I would start this podcast by doing something we don't do often enough, which is to say, if you like what you hear, if Ruck the Way has been something that's been good for you as you've listened to what we've been talking about, like and subscribe. Pass this podcast on to friends, people that you think that might benefit. It really helps us, and it helps to get the message out that, pilgrimage is a good thing. Asking questions about story is powerful. So yeah, man, that being said, we want to talk about pilgrimage today, as we often do. So Gabe, when I ask the question, life as pilgrimage, what does that do in you? What does that make you think?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. I mean, I think of like life as journey or life as walking. I think about the words that are loaded into that concept. For me, it's being on a way for a purpose, which I guess really is what life should be about in many ways.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about that on the podcast, kind of over our 30 plus episodes at this point, this idea of pilgrimage. And I think we've done a decent job to kind of define what pilgrimage is, what it isn't, to maybe strip it of some of its medieval religious connotations that you're doing this to kind of gain some sort of merit. We've talked about pilgrimage being a journey with a purpose, and this idea of life being seen through a pilgrimage lens.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it really struck me, a conversation that we aired a couple weeks ago with Josh Nash, who just went on the last Ruck the Way pilgrimage on the St. Cuthbert. We were sitting in the prayer holes, and I would just say, if you haven't had a chance to listen to that interview or to watch it on YouTube, I encourage you to do it. I think Josh had some amazingly brilliant things to say about his own experience of what pilgrimage is like. One of the things that Josh said, and I wrote it down because I think it's a great quote, and that's kind of where I want to riff on today as we're talking. Josh, as he did the 70 miles, he talked about his expectations, what he thought it might be like. He said for sure that it wasn't like a conference, that it wasn't like a worship night, that pilgrimage really surprised him, and that it was a slow reveal. And I think what he had revealed to him at the end was this, and here I'm going to quote him. Josh said that it was hard work, but I could actually live this way. This could not just be a week of my life, but something that gives guidance to the second half of my life, and I could do life this way.
Yeah,
and that's what really struck me.
Yeah.
That you had a participant say, oh, wow, this is not just an experience. It's a shift in how I view life.
Yeah. Well, man, first of all, that's super encouraging. Just that I think when we thought about starting Ruck the Way, that's the kind of thing we had in mind, is that we wanted to help people on the journey of life, not just provide fun experiences or a great mountaintop spiritual experience, that we wanted to see people begin to think differently and live differently in light of the experience that we're offering. So that's super cool that Josh experienced that. And sorry, by the way, if I'm muted today, like if I seem tired today, I am to be candid, I took NyQuil last night and slept like a baby, but now I feel like my brain is in a NyQuil induced fog, and I'm on my third cup of coffee, and it's not helping.
Gabe's pilgrimage metaphor is he's like in the fog in the valley. It's NyQuil Valley, and
that's
you're
right,
battling through the fog. Well,
yeah,
grace and peace to you, brother.
Yeah, but I love that line from Josh, and just thinking about like what do you feel like that means, like just practically, if you think about what shifts if your life is pilgrimage. Well, first of all, I wonder like what are metaphors that we might use instead of pilgrimage to think about our life?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I'm just trying to think kind of in the corporate world, what sort of metaphors we use, or what sort of images. And I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is sort of the up and to the right. It's the it's the graph chart that shows the increasing money, success, ability to take vacations when you want them because you've made enough money. We talked about retirement, heading towards this place of rest and of ease because you put in all the time. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
What are some other metaphors you think we use?
Right.
Yeah,
well, ladder would be, we're climbing a ladder, which it's in some ways like viewed as progressive, like that there's steps and that there's only one direction to go if you're doing it right.
Right. And if you're doing it wrong, what happens?
You fall off.
You fall off the ladder.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it means if the ladder is lean, I mean, this is the classic thing in that metaphor, but if it's leaned against the wrong thing, like, because if I can only go up, if it's only one direction, and success just means I have to keep climbing in this one direction, then that also means that it's super important that before I get on the ladder, it better be leaning on the right thing, because I don't want to get to the top and then realize it was leaning on the wrong thing, which I think places a ton of weight. We've talked about this before because we both have kids in college. If that's your worldview, then when you're a college kid and you're thinking about your career, that means, man, tons of pressure. Because you better figure it out and start climbing the right thing, or else you're really in trouble.
Yeah. And I would just throw this in there. My kids being in the British school system, that the Scottish system is very much like England, in that you have to choose super early. By the time you're 13, you start narrowing your course choices down because you're going to specialize in one thing in university or in your life in trade school or whatever. So you have to choose really early. So if that metaphor is true, what kind of weight does that put on the shoulders of a 13-year-old here, or say a 18-year-old in the States who are making these choices? I mean, what's at stake seems to be, your entire life, your sense of self-worth. Did I do this right? Did I choose something?
I want to make this huge life decision when I'm 18 or, or maybe 21, but at an incredibly young age, I'm going to make this decision that's going to shape the rest. And that's not to say that those decisions aren't important. They are, and they do have weight. But I think the problem is this idea that I can only choose one thing and I can only go in one direction. And that just doesn't mirror life at all. I mean, by the time you get to midlife, as we're in the middle of, you begin to realize that there's a lot of meandering that happens in life. There's a lot of like going in different directions and then coming back and stopping, sometimes going backwards before you can go forward. I mean, I think there's much more nuance to it that really the idea of being on pilgrimage draws out.
And Josh pointed out some interesting things just from his actual pilgrimage experience. He named the fact that a lot of it was drudgery. A lot of it is just putting one foot in front of the other on the trail. And even in places that I will say are quite beautiful, that the beauty of the surroundings doesn't take away from the effort and the difficulty and, the blisters that you get on your feet at night. So he kind of came into it with, I think, some unspoken, and maybe he wasn't even conscious or aware of the expectations that he brought in was from the Christian world. Oh, this is going to be like a rapturous spiritual experience, kind of the spiritual equivalent of up and to the right, of climbing the ladder to spiritual success on a pilgrimage. And he was able to say, the reveal of the power of it was slow. And it didn't come until the very end, where he realized, oh, this is a lot like life, actually. That even if culture tells me that I should be feeling these things as I'm working up my career, a lot of times it's not like that.
Well, and that you can't manufacture control when you have those epiphany kind of moments.
Yeah, good.
They come when they come.
Yeah.
And your part is just to be faithful, to keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep walking the path. There's something I think very kind about that view of things. I know for me, I tend, one of my hangups is I try to control way too many things. And I think I get to the place where I actually can easily believe that I can control outcomes of things, results.
Right. Yeah.
And the reality is I can't control any. I can almost control zero results in anything. I can control the inputs. I can control what I'm doing or what I'm choosing, but like what happens as a result of those activities, I can't control that.
And Gabe, you and I have done at least portions of 4 pilgrimage walks together. How would you say the idea of pilgrimage or the experience of pilgrimage has played into that sense of control?
It's a hard question for 8:30 and 8:29 in the morning.
In the NyQuil fog.
In the NyQuil fog. Don't hold me to these answers. Well, I think pilgrimage for me, like every time we've done the pilgrimage has been at a moment in my life where I was seeking direction of some kind. And that in some ways was why we were doing the walk. And every time I found what I was looking for, some direction, and I do think it has informed over time the way that I live. And I think predominantly in the way that we're talking about is that I just view life with much more from a perspective of openness or open-handedness, is because that is something you realize when you're walking on the pilgrimage route, that I'm coming seeking something, but I can't be in control of when I find it. And then you learn to enjoy the journey, to enjoy the walking. And I think I have carried that into life, in the sense that I think my life is less about outcomes now and more about answering the question, how am I walking? Like, how am I walking is the main, because that's the part I can control.
Yeah. My mind just keeps flashing back to these pilgrimages with you and those points where you were in decision. And not just you, I think I was there with you, and to experience you in those moments of decision and question, and just to see how the impact of the walk on those moments in your life was powerful for me. So it wasn't just, I mean, what I was receiving from you was the reflected power of pilgrimage in your life.
Right.
As I was experiencing you experience pilgrimage, if that makes any sense.
It completely makes sense. And I'm curious for you, because you've done it so many more times, like how has just going on the pilgrimage yourself, but bearing witness to other people on the trail too, how has that shaped your thinking about how do you think about life differently as a result of this kind of work?
Yeah. Well, I would say that my experience of others on the trail, and like with Josh and with you, that to experience other pilgrims kind of coming to this realization, like Josh did, that life is pilgrimage, helped to reinforce for me that kind of intuition that I've had for a long time, that that's true. Again, and then it gives freedom to me in my own life to not hold myself to some of that climb the ladder standard that we were talking about. Because, again, we talked about midlife a lot, and I'm squarely in that. So it is a place of reflection where I'm saying, all right, have I accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish at this point in the game? And I think what pilgrimage has helped me to do is to take the pressure off. So almost it's like a pressure valve on a pressure cooker. Pilgrimage has helped to relieve some of that, the steam that builds up underneath that kind of question. Like, do I have what it takes? Have I done enough? Am I good enough? I think it's just helped me to kind of relax more with open hands to go, listen, my life is a series of hills and valleys. And there are moments when I was on the top of the hill thinking, man, I've got it. And I'm going to have it till the end. And then there have been valleys where I'm like, man, I thought I had it and I ain't got nothing. And wow, I've screwed this up. How did I get so lost? And then you kind of wind your way through that valley and you climb another hill and you're like, here I am again. Man, I'm doing great. I'll never forget this feeling. I'll always stay here. And then you get, and then the metaphor plays out through life. I just think pilgrimage has helped me to say, you know what? This is life. Life is like this. There are going to be moments where you feel like things are together. There are going to be moments where you feel like you have screwed it up and everything's lost. And through it runs a thread, like this road of pilgrimage, where I have found, for me as a Christian, Jesus along the way, telling me the story of who he is, kind of like the road to Emmaus. And just being able to kind of hold life with open hands and say, you know what? This is life. Gonna be up, gonna be down. This is life.
Yeah, and that the terrain itself gets a vote in the story. Like when you're
like that.
when you're walking, a lot of what shapes the walk is the terrain under your feet. Like is it hilly? Is it flat? Is it straight? Is it curvy? Is it through the woods? Is it rocky? Is the path narrow or wide? Is there beauty or is it desolate?
Yeah.
And I think two things about that. If you've never been on the pilgrimage walk, like the first time you took me, I didn't know what was up ahead. You did, but I didn't. And so around every bend was a surprise, like, oh, okay, I guess we're walking up a big hill right now. But that wasn't, the choice was to be on the journey, but the choice wasn't the terrain. And I think that does mirror life, because we don't know what's around the bend. We don't know the terrain that's going to be under our feet. We don't know if it's going to be hard or easy. And so the choice isn't and the game isn't make it an easy walk, because we can't choose that. It's just the choice is to keep walking. Yeah.
That's so good, man. I love that phrase that you just used. I feel like I need to put it on a t-shirt. Maybe we should for Ruck the Way. The terrain gets a vote.
Terrain gets a vote. That would be.
And it goes against what you said, Gabe, is that idea of control that I think is kind of woven into our Western lives, is that somehow if we work hard enough, we can control every outcome to get where we feel like we want to be. And what I hear you saying is that actually, no. There are some things that you can control. You can control if you're going to walk, but you can't control the terrain.
Yeah, and if we go further with the metaphor, we can choose not to walk. We can choose to sit down and to stay and go and say, well, I'm not going to keep moving forward. But then the classic coaching questions would be, what does it give you? What does it cost you to do that? Because there's a great temptation to do that. I think about Jesus on the on the Mount of Transfiguration with who was up there with him? It was Peter and
Peter, James, and John.
Peter, James, and John.
Yeah.
And they're up there, and they have this moment where they see Jesus for who he really is, and they see also all of redemptive history kind of coming together in this moment that like where everything makes sense. And I think it was a foretaste of heaven, of course. And what do they say? They're like, basically they say like, let's set up tents. Let's stay here. Let's stop walking. And then Jesus is like, no, we have to keep going. And they go down into the valley. And then like the next passages in the scriptures are, they're like he's healing people and casting out demons like right away, like they go back down. And I think that is how, but like we want to stay there too. Like there's moments where we think I'm going to just stay here, or there's moments like we keep talking about, like the most obvious is like the idea of like retiring is like, let's just get to a point where it's easy and sit down and stay there. And so you just go like, well, what would that give you, but what would it cost you? How would you answer that? To choose to sit down in places that seem easy and inhabitable in your life. What does that give you? What does it cost you to do that?
Well, I think the giving part would be sort of the immediate ease with which you would think you would be finding rest. So I think it would offer what I'm going to call the illusion of rest and ease at the expense of growth and challenge. And I think that would be the part of the cost, is that the cost would be is that you would probably end up stagnating in that place. So again, to use the pilgrimage metaphor, if you sit down in the middle of the pilgrimage at a high point where there's great views, you're going to miss out on everything that's ahead. And also some of those high points are beautiful, but there also can be desolate in terms of there's no inn at that high point. There's no pub. There's no place to find nourishment. So you can gain beautiful insight in those places, but they're not meant for you to stay.
They're not places to live.
You can't live there.
It's you miss out on growth, but it's also not sustainable either. It actually is bad for your health. Stay there. Yeah.
And the lens of pilgrimage is kind of the whole thing. I mean, I think that's what Josh was saying on his pilgrimage, was that not that I'm just going to take the kind of epiphany experience that I had at the very end that drew everything together. That's not what he was saying, that he could live in that forever.
Right.
What he was saying is, I think I can take pilgrimage as a whole, from the hard bits to the blisters to the beautiful things to the desolate places, that all of it is what I can take with me and how I view life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, because I remember him talking about he in the beginning, he didn't have any revelations and it was just hard. And then he got those blisters on day one, and then you made him walk 20 miles on day two, and he's going, what have I gotten myself into? What are we doing right now? Thing? This is crazy.
Yeah. And as a guide, I'm human, so I feel bad. I feel bad that I'm leading him on this experience that is harder than he thought. But because I've done it before, I know, man, it's worth it. Just keep pushing on. What you're going to feel having accomplished this is going to be more powerful than the pain of your blisters. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's a great insight. So what other things should we be taking from the idea that life is pilgrimage? Like, so don't sit down in the high places. Like if we were laying out principles, don't sit down in the high places. The terrain gets a vote. We're coming up with some good one-liners. What would some other just principles be of, like, when you view life as pilgrimage, these are the takeaways.
Yeah. Well, we always say that the destination is not the full purpose. That, Holy Island is awesome, but really the whole journey itself is the purpose. What happens along the way is as important as arriving.
Yeah, and yet it's important to have a destination in mind.
True.
Because that's like pulls us. It's a sort of a source of hope that pulls you along the way. Of there's something good. There's something good coming that's better than what I have now, or and draws me toward it in some ways.
Yes. I would say too, here's another one, is that doing it in community is important. Because I think our Western culture tends to say, yeah, you want to be a pilgrim, that's fine. Do it on your own. Be a self-made pilgrim. And I think what we're saying here at Ruck the Way is, no, do pilgrimage in community. Because what you gain from the stories of other pilgrims along the way will help shape your own story.
Yeah, the walk. Each of you have a walk that you're on, and the walks sort of have a corresponding value with each other. That your pilgrimage walk and my pilgrimage walk shape each other in a really unique way. But
you have to let people in. I mean, you could be a pilgrim on the St. Cuthbert with other pilgrims and kind of hide your story to yourself. You could guard it the entire way. And I think that what that would cost you is the cost of not being known, not being seen. And I think that's a pretty heavy cost.
It's a big cost.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's been a great conversation. Just on little shorter than we usually do.
Shorter.
But some days on the trail are shorter than others, and that's okay.
That's right. Maybe this one's not 20 miles. This was 5 miles through the Valley of the Shadow of NyQuil with Gabe, Chris.
That's a good title for this one.
Yeah, but I think it's important. And again, thanks to Josh Nash for being able to put those things into words and to kind of encapsulate what we really are hoping people can experience through Ruck the Way and through thinking about these things and talking about them, and not just having a pilgrimage experience once, but being able to take some of these practices and thoughts and asking questions about your own life, where you are in your family, where you live, in business and work and ministry, and to start applying them and maybe seeing how you live your life a little bit differently.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's keep walking.
We will keep walking. Yeah, but I'm going to say, hey, check out our website if you haven't looked at it in a while, rucktheway.com. Right. We've got some new pilgrimages coming up for 2027. They should be up there soon. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, if you're thinking, you know what, I would love to actually experience this live in person with Chris and Gabe, both in Scotland and in the US, take a look at the website under pilgrimages. We will have new ones coming up that you can sign up for 2027.
And you can also go to rucktheway.com and sign up to receive our trail notes, which is an email that we send out that has more content based on the podcast episodes that we're doing, some journaling prompts, some additional resources for you. So if you really enjoy what you're hearing, sign up for that, and you'll get even more to help you along the way.
Take it deeper.
That's right. All right, Chris. Well, I'm going to go take some Dayquil now to counterbalance my NyQuil. And
good for you, man.
Yeah. Let's let the walk
do the work.
There you go. Till next time.
Till next time.